Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and it was a holiday weekend. You know what that means. The Willistons went to the book store. One of us found a few books. So I'm just going to show you what they all are and then review today's book. So this one is The Science of Middle Earth, a new understanding of Tolkien and his world. I'm going to show you the authors because I can't really say those names. A surprising and illuminating look at how Tolkien's love of science and natural history shaped the creation of his Middle Earth, from its flora and fauna to its landscapes. If you don't know what natural history is and your kids aren't studying it at school, you need to stop. You can find natural history courses, especially by Mother of Divine Grace, which is a Catholic classical education format. You can just get their syllabus and do it with your kids this summer. Natural history and summer go together like, whoa, beautiful time to study natural history. There's books to read. It's a classical high school class, but you can do it at any age. You adapt them down. Find books about natural history. Teach kids how to identify animals, how to draw animals, how to interact with their own environment. Have your kids make a map of the environment in your neighborhood. Start with your house, and when it rains, they go outside. Mark where the rain goes, how it flows on the land. Really have your kids get to know the flora and fauna and geography of the land where they live. And then if you go on vacation, you do it where you're on vacation. Really get your kids immersed in that. If you want them to study ecology, politics, if they're into poetry, music, whatever they are into, learning about the natural world is going to help them in life. We all know natural law reveals a great deal about the divine. Kids need to be studying natural history, and Tolkien wove it into his books, and we're going to find out how. This next book is The Saint Makers. You all know that I am trying to help promote the cause for sainthood of Servant of God, John Bradburn, up there. So that's where the title appealed to me, to learn a little bit more about the sainthood process, the formal process of the Catholic Church, not God's process, but the formal process of the Catholic Church, as well as one of my friends had done a talk for me once and told me a little bit about Father Capodanno. So this is part biography of a wartime adventurer, part detective story, and part faith journey. This intriguing book from New York Times journalist and best-selling author Joe Drape takes us into the modern day process of the making of the saint. Just to tell us a little bit more. It leads us from the plains of canvas to the opulent halls of the Vatican, through the brutal Korean War prison camps, and into the stories of two individuals whose lives were threatened by illness and injury, and whose families and friends prayed to Father Emile Capon, sparking miraculous recoveries in the heart of America. So I'm just interested in learning more about the process, and I thought this book could be a good way. This was a kid's book. I was there looking for baby books for my niece, Paula. And this is not a book I'm giving her. This is a little too old, obviously. But I ran into this, Who Was the Girl Warrior, Frantz, in that section of Who Was books, for upper elementary school, middle school kids. And I saw this one for Joan of Arc, and I wanted to see how they treated her in this book. And I do have some questions for the author. She can check her email. Their author, this is the book that we're going to look at today. It will be a nice, quick, easy book for us to look at. And this book, it's interesting because it's apparently political, and I did not know that going in. I saw the Catholic soul, conservative heart, Irish temper, and love of life. I love, the cover art did suck me in a little bit, kind of looks like he's out at a cabin or something. And the story that it was about 10 little redheaded kids growing up in Virginia. And so that part really appealed to me. It says, an extraordinary voyage, born one of 10 in a Catholic family, both rebellious and joyfully unconventional, educated in another country and raised in another era. And then a leader in the conservative movement. I don't even know what that means. Are they talking politics in church? Where are they talking? What kind of conservative? Financial conservative? I have no idea who this person is. I admit it. Excuse me. But I'll know. He's helped elect presidents and defeat them too. And then it's like, what? Who is this person? Accused of starting wars in Central America while publicly declaring wars at home. Brent Bozell has seen it all and tells remarkable stories to prove it. I know nothing of this person. Judge me as you will, but I will. I got the book. I'll learn some about him, and I'm sure people will tell me in the comments. The last book should also come as no surprise. Look at this. Hal Leonard. I do love their books. I got them when I was trying to learn ukulele, and I've been turning to them as a source for music as I'm learning the dulcimer. So this is this cute little Christmas Carol songbook. I'm just going to show you one. So it's literally like you and your friends could buy this and go from house to house or around the nursing home caroling. And so I will review this possibly this week because I'm pretty deep into this one as well. So let's get started. This says it's a Who HQ graphic novel. Who was the girl warrior of France? Joan of Arc. It is by Sarah Winifred Searle and illustrated by Maria Capel Frantz. And I'll show you their names. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let's go ahead and look. The cover art lets you know that there's something going on. It's kind of reminiscent of King Arthur because you see her in her armor and she's got the sword, you know, kind of like that moment where you pull the sword out of the stone. It's got this mystical light about her and stuff. So it's very reminiscent. If you don't know the full story of Joan of Arc, you're going to be like, wait, isn't that like King Arthur? Like, what's going on with this imagery? And so that may draw you in. Then you look on the back and it's, what? Now she's praying, like, and she has long hair. What's going on? These pictures were really well selected to draw you in. It does say from the #1 New York Times best-selling Who Was series, who was the girl warrior of France? Joan of Arc. Heroine, warrior, saint, teenager. Discover the true story behind the rise of Joan of Arc as she embarks on a remarkable quest to meet the Dauphin, the future king of France. Will her journey change the course of the 100 Years' War in her life forever? The book was $7.99 from Penguin Workshops. In Canada, it says $10.99. Okay, so let's dive in. Yes, the artwork is very captivating. Now, I do want to read the note from the publisher because I took them at their word. At Who HQ, a dedicated team of authors, illustrators, editors, designers, and fact-checkers strive to bring you the very best books about trailblazers, legends, famous places, and world-shaping events. It's our goal to tell each story accurately and keep our facts up to date, and we work with experts to review our content and language. The history we tell is vital, and the way we tell it is just as important. We firmly believe history lives in the facts, and we recognize the different points of view of our readers from all around the world. We consistently review our books and rely on readers like you to help us tell these stories in the correct way. And I do have an email in to the author. I tried to go. It tells you that they do that and they want your feedback, but there's no place to contact them. I went to the website that they list on the next page, and that was completely overwhelming and really didn't have a contact. You could connect with them on social media, and then I looked under the thing for influencers or media, or it was just, there's just so much there. It was not like, hey, have a question about the content of one of our books. That was not a thing, but they do say that they're open to it. So I actually sent my comment. I looked at the author up on social media and asked her my question. We'll see if she answers me. Oh, it'll come through on my phone while I'm filming this on my phone. Well, we'll know immediately if she answers it. So the book has a dedication for Kieran Lycan and Aaliyah and all our little historians out there, as well as for Amanda. Penguin Workshop, it says it's an imprint of Penguin Random House, LLC, New York. Penguin supports copyright. I do love that they have this. Penguin supports copyright. Copyright fuels creativity, encourages diverse voices, promotes free speech, and creates a vibrant culture. Thank you for buying an authorized edition of this book and for complying with copyright laws by not reproducing, scanning, or distributing any part of it in any form without permission. You are supporting writers and allowing Penguin to continue to publish books for every reader. It then says the publisher does not have control over and does not assume any responsibility for author or third-party websites or their content. The copyright is 2021, and then it gets complicated, but it's published by, and this is the subsidiary. This publishing world is very complicated these days. Manufactured in China. Visit us online at www.penguinrandomhouse.com. Lettering by Comicraft. Book designed by J. Emanuel. This is a work of nonfiction. All the events that unfold in the narrative are rooted in historical fact. Some dialogue and characters have been fictionalized in order to illustrate or teach a historical point. For more information about your favorite historical figures, places, and events, please visit www.whohq.com. And so all that is over here. The page that most people skip has a lot of information. So I hope that you, if you're a parent watching this, teach kids to read these pages. So much valuable information there. I do like this. I will say my overall impression of the book is well done. I was super impressed. There is, while it says it's a graphic novel, I think there were some things that they just couldn't do they couldn't figure out or chose not to do. I don't know. I think it's well done that there's like every now and then there's these couple pages of information. So this is in a little introduction to Joan of Arc, and they tell you that her name would be Jeanne d'Arc in French, but they don't tell you how they would say it, so it looks like Jeanne d'Arc. It would have been nice if they had a little pronunciation thing in there for the French names. That would have been helpful. I like how they just treated it, how they took her at her word. They didn't say like, oh, she heard voices and it was awful. But like, here's this little, oh, I'll get to this weirdness in a minute. Sorry. This is the third paragraph in here. However you want to say it, Joan, she was nervous today. She was leaving home in Domfrey. See, I can't say it, Domremy, in the town of Van Couleurs. I can't say any of these French words, so it would have been nice if there had been some pronunciation guide maybe in the back. She was only 16 years old, but God's angels had been visiting her through visions since she was 13. So they didn't make fun of her. They didn't say it was voices that she claimed were these saints and angels. They didn't say that. They just said, this is who it was. They took her at her word for this book. So it makes it sound like this is how she would have said the book. I just really appreciate that they took the time to do this. They are recognizing her, although it doesn't say Saint Joan of Arc, they seem to recognize that she is a religious figure, and for the most part, they treat her with respect in her beliefs and all. I found that great. Here's the thing, you flip the page, and it's page 6. So I'm like, I kept thinking my pages were stuck together, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how they got there. I've never seen a book numbered that way that included like the title page in the numbering, but that's how they chose to do that. So don't be confused if you read it. You're not missing pages. It is a little odd. You just jump into the story there. It's done very well. I like her expressions. I like the way they treat her. I want to show you some of the religious thing. I love this. Just going to do this little image here, right? That is lovely. It is respectful. I do like the way they treat her faith, and they do address the topic of her when she dresses like a man. They do address that she says she doesn't want to be attacked. They don't outright say what kind of attack, or, that it's not safe to be dressed as a woman. They don't go into details, but they do say it, and I think it's nice. A little bit here on the 100 Years' War to give you that. There is a little bit of a map. When the characters are looking at a map, they actually show you a little map. They address the fact that she was illiterate, but they thought that she needed more knowledge in order to be able to accomplish her mission, which is funny because the whole point was God was on her side. But there were always people who doubted her and said, no, you need to learn more. And she's like, that's not where its power is not coming from me. It's coming from God. And remember, God likes to use little people. So I do appreciate that. And it shows you the sacrifices that people make. It shows you the horrors of war, but it's done so subtly that it's there, but it's not there. So if you are reading this to younger children, they may not notice all the details. Because it's really faint in the pictures, but when she's staying in town with a family, you see this picture here, and she's talking about, see how her hands look all burnt up. She's telling me, my nightmares are back. The ones about the attack here last year. I'm just so afraid they'll come back to finish the job. And real quick, they show Joan of Arc helping the woman with her tasks, and you can see her pain, and she's kind of curled up and covered and got them kind of bandaged for a minute. It is odd then, because then the slight change of color in her hands seems to disappear and is not brought up again, but it is there. So you kind of see that. You see the horrors of war, but it's not dwelt on. It's not really examined deeply. It's there subtly. I think it's treated very well because this is a children's book. It's acknowledged, but not horrible. And they show Joan. I'm going to keep saying back and forth. They show her going in, talking to the royals, her insistence that this is what she needed to do. They just continually are showing you, no, she needed to go and pray, and that she insisted on going to pray. Her religion is treated very well. I love that they show you her changing from boy clothes into girl clothes, or girl clothes into boy clothes, and why she would do it and what the differences were. Treated very well, how she would dress differently to look like a man. And then it talks about heresy and Catholicism. I think this is done pretty well. I mean, it is a kid's book. So heresy and Catholicism. Heresy is a belief or action that goes against what is accepted in an organized religion. I mean, it just calls them rules. It doesn't tell you how they've been codified, and it's not like just somebody's whim. But then again, it kind of was in Joan's case. So it's weird how they have that at the time, acts of heresy included. It didn't tell you where they came from. It doesn't dwell on it. It gives you a brief introduction. Maybe it's a little too brief or sounds a little bit too crazy. That one is a little odd. It's on page 28. Let's see here. And they go on their adventure. Again, they continually show you Joan going to pray. It shows you some of the battles. Really goes on her adventures. There's just some gorgeous, gorgeous imagery here. So as a parent, I would definitely recommend that you read through the book first, but I am highly impressed. You're just going to want to know what subjects are coming up, like the horrors of war are coming. And you could, depending on the sensitivity of your child, upplay or downplay that element. When they talk about heresy, you can be ready to have that conversation. You can skip that page if you want entirely if you're reading it with kids. Or you could go into it a little bit more or pull back a little bit less, depending on your own kids if you want to use this book. Let's see here. The dolphin. I thought this was great. When they talk about the dolphin, they explain where the term came from. I've literally never known why he was called the Dolphin, Charles VII. So that was lovely. So let's see here. I do think it was done really well. They talk about sainthood at the end. I think that was done well, pretty well. They tried to talk about like little s sainthood versus capital S sainthood. Yeah, I think that was handled pretty well. So it's kind of like our Saint Maker book right there, that they do discuss the process of sainthood. And they don't really talk about, they kind of gloss over. So the book is really about her convincing the men that she was on a mission from God and she needed to help them. And they kind of sees her starting out, and then it jumps forward and tells you about her end. So it's a very condensed version of the story. I think their emphasis is on that middle period, her standing up to all these men and saying, no, I'm on a mission from God. This is what we need to do. You need to come with me. And it's interesting because it's highlighted that she's on a mission from God, but it's not highlighted that God is helping Frantz, because in the conclusion, and this is the problem that I have with the book that I have the note out for, it does talk about, so the conclusion is like summarizes the war. It says conclusion. It's not really a conclusion of all the content of the book. It's a conclusion of her story, which is an odd way to do it. And so they bring to you how the war ends, her capture, her treatment, and then this last paragraph. This is the part about the book that I don't like, this last paragraph. So again, you could omit it, you could cover it up. I have an email out to the author, and we're going to find out what provoked this. So this last one is on page, the pages aren't numbered here, of course not, 61. Religion and politics were impossible to separate in Joan's time, which makes her story complicated. It is true that Joan helped end a terrible war, but it is also true that she promoted violence against people just for having different religious beliefs. Today, she's become a legend, both for her spiritual and historical contributions. Her story has gone on to change the course of France's history forever. So religion and politics were impossible to separate in Joan's time, which makes her story complicated. How? It was two Catholic nations fighting. Two Catholic nations fighting. It is true that Jean, however you want to say it, helped end a terrible war. Did she? It was, the religion thing was handled so well, but they never took that extra little notch, right? It is true that God used Joan of Arc to help end a terrible war. That's how I would have worded it. Of course, a publisher really is, a religious publisher might do this. This is Penguin House, so they didn't make that leap. So they said it is true that Joan helped end a terrible war. But it is also true that she promoted violence against people just for having different religious beliefs. I have no idea what they're saying. The only thing I can come up with that would justify that is she thought that was God was telling her who the true king of France was, and the English believed it was somebody else. That's all I've got. I really don't understand that line. I can find nothing that supports that line at all. I've studied a lot of the transcripts of Joan of Arc. I don't have it on the wall behind me here, but you may remember I do a master's in pastoral studies with my certificate is in Catholic women's leadership, and we studied Joan of Arc a lot, and I did read a lot of the trial transcripts. I don't know where this came from. I've read so much of her history and stuff. I have no idea where that line came from. I would not say that it's true that she promoted violence against people for having different religious beliefs. It was a civil war over land. It tells you in the beginning, the king of France died and he didn't leave an heir. And some people said the king of England should be the heir, and somebody said it was someone else, a Frenchman. And which was it? And that was the war. It was over the two kings. So this book gets a lot right. The imagery is gorgeous throughout. Their infographics are awesome. I was not expecting infographics. I do think they're really valuable. Take out that last paragraph of the book, and of course, if I was still homeschooling, I would emphasize God's role in this, not just in Joan saying that God told her to do this, but I would emphasize God's hand in history as well. And it's shown here, it's just not made completely explicit. Again, read it first so that you can discuss it, even if your kids are reading it on their own, that you can discuss it intelligently with them. I recommend that with most books. Handing kids your book, especially for their education that you haven't read yourself, is silly. And some people think that's like getting into your kid's business. It's not. Like, you would do a book club. If you're going to discuss a book, you need to have read it yourself. A lot of moms will homeschool a large number of kids, and maybe they don't have time to read every book every time. So moms, I'm telling you now, get yourself a notebook. Probably, I'm going to say a composition book, or you can organize it out in a binder with tabs and all. And you're going to want to write like the grade level, and then have be the tab or something, and then have the books in it. And you can just make yourself a little outline or key points that you loved about the book, things you didn't like about the book, things that you wanted to emphasize, ties to their curriculum in the moment. Do that with your first child. Go back and review it. You can make notes, leave yourself some paper. That would be the benefit of doing it in a 3-ring binder, as you could always add to it. And if you're doing it in a 3-ring binder, use the paper that has the reinforcements over the whole strips, and so you can add those in whenever, any new notes for any kid. By the time you get to the last kid, you are going to be so prepared when they get to that book. It's going to be amazing. So that's it. I really, really, really loved so much of this book. There was a teeny bit I didn't like, but I did actually really love this book. The artwork in it, totally worth it. Amazing. So that's it. God bless you, friends. I hope you have a beautiful day, and remember all the men and women who have given their lives in service of God and country today. God bless you, friends.